The sudden departure of Christie Sides as head coach of the Indiana Fever came as a jolt to many, not least because her replacement came with speed and decisiveness, signaling a clear intention to shake things up. The arrival of Stephanie White brought a twist to this narrative, adding tension, reactions, and not-so-subtle emotions in the mix, especially from key players and personalities like Caitlin Clark. If the Fever's locker room was the scene of a drama, this would be the cliffhanger season finale. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. It wasn't just the fact that Christie Sides got fired. Coaches come and go. That's almost a given in sports, where the axe falls quicker than a first whistle jump ball. But the timing of it and the rapid announcement of Stephanie White taking over the reins, now that was something. The Indiana Fever front office wasn't dragging its feet, and they certainly weren't interested in a long, drawn-out goodbye. Instead, it was more of a grab your things and head out scenario. Christie Sides, for all her experience and skills, didn't quite bring the Fever the kind of change they were desperate for. Her short stint showed moments of promise, but promising moments don't necessarily win championships, or even just games sometimes. Fans were impatient, and so was management. The decision was swift, as though someone said, enough already. Time for a change, in a meeting room. And just like that, she was out, and Stephanie White was in. The transition almost seemed like it was rehearsed, like a play in practice, a swift switch from one coach to another. Now Stephanie White isn't exactly a stranger to the Fever. Her return feels a bit like a sequel movie, familiar faces, a lot of hopes, and the pressure of making this installment better than the first. White had been in charge of the Fever from 2014 to 2016 and led them to the WNBA Finals in 2015. So her reappointment wasn't entirely out of the blue, but the timing and circumstances of it made heads spin. Bringing in White was like throwing a known star back into a struggling sitcom to see if she could bring the spark. The expectations were high, but there was also a sense of, let's see if this works this time around. In this swirling pot of changes and emotions, Caitlin Clark, a star with her own fan following, couldn't hide her feelings. While some players might choose silence or diplomacy, Clark's reactions were anything but subtle. The way she responded, there were hints of relief, maybe even a bit of joy. But she wasn't being malicious. It was more like the tension had been lifted off her shoulders. It was like watching someone who'd been holding their breath finally exhale. Caitlin's joy wasn't malicious gloating or unprofessional celebration. It was just her way of saying, maybe things are about to change for the better. Clark's visible relief became an unintentional signal that there had been more going on behind the scenes. There were speculations, rumors that perhaps Sides' coaching style and strategy weren't in sync with the players or even the management's vision. Maybe the chemistry was off, or maybe there were other more intricate dynamics at play. Whatever the case, Clark's reaction hinted at the disconnect, without saying a word. She didn't need to. Her smile was worth 1,000 speeches. There was something almost entertaining in the way all this unfolded, with White's return feeling like an old friend stepping back into familiar territory, even though that territory had since changed. It wasn't just White coming back to take over any team. She was stepping into a situation full of stories, whispers, and more than a few raised eyebrows. Her mission was clear, though: rebuild the Fever, reconnect with the players, and reignite the spark that had once taken the team to the WNBA Finals. Stephanie White wasn't walking into a fairy tale return. She was stepping into a room that had seen its share of turmoil, expectations, and disappointments. For a coach, coming back to a former team is a tricky balancing act. It's like returning to a high school reunion. Everything's familiar but changed, and everyone's wondering if you're still the same person they knew back then. White had to prove that she wasn't just a throwback, but an evolution of her former self. For Christie Sides, getting replaced so swiftly couldn't have been easy. There's a sting in getting shown the door, especially when it's followed immediately by your replacement getting praised. But sports are brutal in that sense. No time for nursing wounds or ego. You lose the game, you lose your job, and someone else takes your chair. That's how it is, and Sides knew it going in. Still, it doesn't make the experience any easier. The decision to rehire Stephanie White felt like a deliberate attempt to recapture some of the past magic. There was something poetic about it, almost as if management was admitting, maybe we had something good here after all. White's return was an opportunity to mend whatever had gone wrong in the time since she left. Maybe there was unfinished business. Maybe the story just wasn't done yet. Amid all this was Caitlin Clark, whose contentment at the coaching change revealed more than any press release could. Clark had made her mark in the basketball world with her talent and attitude. She wasn't just another player, she was a personality. And in the wake of Side's departure, Clark's visible happiness didn't need words to be understood. It was a testament to the tension that must have been simmering beneath the surface all along. The Indiana Fever wasn't a team without talent. They had the skills, the resources, and the potential. But there's a big difference between having potential and realizing it. Bringing in Stephanie White was an attempt to unlock that potential, to turn raw talent into wins. It was a message from management saying, "We're not done trying yet." And with Caitlin Clark on board, eager to see where this new path might lead, it was clear that the team's narrative was far from finished. White's task wasn't just to win games. She had to fix whatever fractures existed within the team dynamic. She had to be the glue, the strategist, the motivator. It was a tall order, but her previous tenure showed she wasn't one to back down from challenges. Her coaching style, characterized by a blend of directness and patience, would need to resonate with a team that was hungry for direction. For fans, the events were almost surreal, like watching a plot twist unfold in slow motion. There was anticipation in the air, a sense of, okay, where do we go from here? But there was also a recognition that nothing would change overnight. White wasn't a magician. She couldn't wave a wand and fix everything. It would take work, a lot of it, to bring this team back to where it needed to be. And while White was busy with the heavy lifting, Caitlin Clark seemed ready to do her part. Clark's expressions, those fleeting moments of happiness, carried weight. She wasn't a silent observer. She was part of this change, part of the story. If there was ever a sign that White's return might bring something new, Clark's reaction was it. In the world of professional sports, where emotions are often carefully guarded, Clark's lack of poker face made it all the more genuine. It's worth noting that changes like these aren't just about the here and now. They're about the future, too. Management was making a statement with the switch. They were looking ahead, trying to build something sustainable. They weren't content to keep doing the same thing and hoping for different results. Bringing back White wasn't just a nostalgic decision, it was a strategic one. In the locker room, players undoubtedly had their own opinions about the change, their own stories and perspectives. But for the public, it was Caitlin Clark's response that took center stage. Clark's reaction was a rare, unfiltered glimpse into the undercurrents of team life. It was the kind of moment that sparks speculation, fuels discussions, and sticks in people's minds long after the final whistle. As the dust began to settle, Stephanie White stepped back into a role she once knew well but now had to rediscover. There were new faces to work with, new strategies to devise, and new challenges to overcome. She wasn't starting from scratch, but this wasn't the same team she had coached in 2015. There were remnants of her old coaching days, echoes of past strategies, but she needed to build something fresh, something adaptable. Clark, on the other hand, seemed to see White's return as a chance for a clean slate, a do-over. It was like the team had been handed a reset button, and Clark was eager to press it. Her happiness wasn't about Side's departure specifically, but about the chance to start anew. There was an optimism in her reaction, an anticipation of what could be rather than what had been. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.